Hey guys, Damadar here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, depending on what time it is you are watching this and where you are in the world. I hope you are doing well, citizens. This is another video for you guys on Star Citizen mega ships. This video is on the Polaris, which is my favorite ship in terms of the bigger ships. The second favorite ship would have to be either the Reclaimer or the Hoplite. I'm not quite sure of those two. I love both those ships. They're awesome. I need to grab them at some point. But the Polaris is a ship I own as well, for a lot of people out there. It is an awesome ship. If you do not own a Polaris, I'd recommend grabbing it next time it comes up on sale if you're looking for a capital ship. So, we'll jump into more details here, we'll learn more about the ship, and yeah, let's jump right into this episode. So, this is Star Citizen Mecha Ships. Let's do this. Fast and lethal, those with the derivatives. How to make something that meets both those expectations in a ship this size. It took a massive amount of work and ingenuity, but I think we did it. Jules Parley, RSI lead ship designer on the Polaris. The Polaris. Built to be both a naval patrol ship and the flagship for militia operations, the Polaris' versatility makes it an ideal vessel to accomplish a wide variety of objectives, whether on a search and rescue operation, a light strike mission, or general security patrol. RSI's latest cap ship is ready to help bring safety and security to your system. The Polaris was fast-tracked for development following last year's Vandal attack on the Vega system. The request for proposal specified a smaller first response alternative to the Idris frigates currently serving both the UEE and the private concerns. Robert Space Industries' Polaris bid was selected due to the unique combination of a fully equipped small craft, hangar, and array of torpedo tubes that let it punch above its weight class. So, the Polaris is a nimble corvette-class capital ship that packs a powerful punch with a full armament of turrets and torpedoes intended for use as both a naval patrol ship and to serve as a flagship of militia operations. The Polarises have the capacity to perform search and rescue operations, light strike missions, and general security patrols. The Polaris includes the facilities to repair, rearm, and refuel a single fighter, light bomber, or support ship. But you can also fit a few more ships in there, and I'll get into them in more detail in a moment. So, let's continue on with the Polaris here. So, the technical overview here says, Focus Corvette, length 155 meters, mass 220,000 kilograms, max crew of 24 people, cargo capacity of 216 standard cargo units, primary engines 2 to be determined, max size 2 yet to be determined, maneuvering thrusters it has 12 to be determined engines, power plant still to be determined, fixed mount 2 size 3s, pylon mounts, it's got torpedo tubes, as it says here. It says 3 size 10 mounts for those, unmanned turret, a size 4 and a size 5, and according to this here, it has 6 size 4 manned turrets. Shield size is yet to be determined. So, the Polaris is going to be a hell of a vessel. We'll get into more details here. And I cannot wait for this thing to be in the verse. I really want to take it out for a spin. And not just that, I mean, I want to walk around the inside. That's the biggest deal I have. But the Polaris here is important because it doesn't require as many resources to field as an Idris or a Javelin or anything like that. It can essentially pay for itself in doing, say, armored transport runs. And I'll get into more detail about that in a moment. The Polaris corvette class patrol vessel represents the new tip of the spear for humanity's defense, able to insert itself into a situation, establish its authority, and then quickly maneuver to safety. The Polaris possesses the perfect balance of firepower and speed. Fast, powerful, and versatile, those are the words given to RSI lead ship designer Jules Parley as inspiration when she began work on the corvette that would become the Polaris. Built with the consultation of the UEE Navy and civilian militias, the Polaris functions as both the perfect complement for the current crop of naval capital ships, and as the flagship for militias around the Empire, enhancing the UEE Navy's overall effectiveness against a wide variety of aggressors and scenarios, from delivering humanitarian aid and tactical operations. The Polaris' adaptability will make it an essential part of both public and private fleets for years to come. With the launch of RSI's new line of corvette-class vessels, the possibility of smaller capital ship warfare have been redefined. Lethal offensive firepower and searing speed make the Polaris able to provide optimal warfighting capabilities and operational flexibility. Designed to be self-sustaining combat platform, the Polaris is capable of extended deployment without resupply, while still providing crew members with a higher quality of life standards than on most currently available fleet options, allowing for enhanced morale and combat effectiveness while on assignment. The Polaris is a truly first-class vessel that will add a much-needed dimension to the Empire's fleet. Hangar, capable of housing one light fighter for combat support or utility vehicles for additional operational flexibility. The bridge, RSI has incorporated their iconic high-visibility bridge, allowing for increased situational awareness. Engines. 2 main and 4 auxiliary thrusters provide the Polaris enough power to chase down fleeting outlaws and evade hostiles looking to achieve a target lock. As you can see here, the mock-up for the interior is pretty well detailed, and it all makes perfect sense. There are a couple of things in this mock-up that are not listed that should have been, that was covered in the Q&A, such as the medical facility and the brig, which is the prison on board the ship. So there's a few other rooms and things like that that are not listed here, but as you can see, things seem to be pretty well thought out. I do like the escape pod placement. It does make perfect sense. The hangar is in just the right location, it's not too far forward. The turrets are all in a nice aggressive angle, so if you do go to attack an enemy ship, all the weapons are on where they need to be. It might pose a little bit of a problem for defense of the vessel, but Polaris is more about getting in, attacking, and getting out. As you can see, the missile racks are in the perfect position for, covering the front of the hull and below the underside as well. The Polaris is a little bit light on defensive weaponry for the underside, I may have noticed, but it's not that big a deal when this ship is supposed to be maneuverable and quick. The escape pod room is in a nice location at the front, considering the fact there's the bridge crew and the weapon officers and things like that can easily get to it. The second escape pods are located for people like the engineers, rear gunners, and or additional crew that would be in the hangar bay at the time. Wide corridors provide for optimal movement of the crew, goods, and gear aboard the ship, while also creating clear sightlines and defensive opportunities in the event of hostile boarding. So when they did the interior of the ship, it is designed with the idea of boarding actions and things like that. If a Polaris gets heavily damaged, it gets crippled, and the enemy wish to board the ship so they can take it for themselves, the crew will be able to put up have more of a chance in a firefight aboard the ship than on most, because of its wide-angled corridors and things like this. It means each corridor will provide a nice amount of cover. That and the fact the interior corridors look like something out of Star Wars. The ship has got a lot of angular sections that you'll also see that the Empire have in Star Wars. And I really do like that. It means that people will be able to take cover behind structural braces and things like that. Like in the scene where they were trying to escape the Death Star, where they had to jump down the chute, they were taking cover in the corridor. And it was a pretty awesome scene, that. So yeah, let's move on to the next section here. The mess doubles as a recreation room to ensure not only physical well-being, but mental health, allowing the crew to operate with a peak performance while on an extended voyage. Now this is very important for NPCs, because NPCs will need to have downtime and things like that, and depending on the conditions, it will determine how effective they are. So having a good interior like this on the Polaris means that NPC Marines or NPC gunners, if you really want to go down that road, will be firing and operating on all cylinders, which is good. Players also will need downtime. I mean, players aren't going to want to keep doing the same thing over and over again. Maybe they want to shoot some pool or do whatever aboard the ship, have a bit of fun, and this is important because the Polaris has these facilities on board, which is pretty cool. For the UEE's Polaris, Captain Lucia Franco specifically requested a pool table in the mess. Already equipped with the retractable tables and chairs, it was a simple upgrade that will go a long way to enhance the crew morale and highlights the Polaris' flexibility. The Polaris' sleek hull and compact size allows it to access zones of operation unavailable to larger capital ships. So, in the event of a large war, Now take this into mind, guys. There will be some systems that the Idris and Javelin, things like this, won't be able to travel to. And this might be a good place if you're looking to set up a militia force or something, to choose some system that doesn't have these large access ports to it as your home system, where the Polaris might be able to fit. So the Polaris here is a perfect ship for strike missions and that sort of stuff, and smaller organizations. And what I mean by smaller organizations, I'm talking about in maybe the 500 to 250 to 100 size, not the 1,000 plus. That's on the larger scale. Now, the larger organizations are going to have a lot of trouble, and I'll explain that in an organization video covering logistics and things like this. So, yeah, the Polaris seems to be quite a really well-rounded ship, and versatile is one word you could use for it. So yeah, let's move on to the next part here. So in terms of size, we'll start at the very top of the scale. We have the Bengal carrier, which is 990 meters long. It says 1,000 here, but the recent post from CIG said it was 990 meters, so 10 meters short of the 1,000 mark. Javelin class destroyer, which is 345 meters. Idris frigate, 239 meters. Polaris corvette, 155. Starfarer, 100 meters. Retaliator, 71 meters. Constellation, 61 meters. Hornet, 23 meters. And the Aurora at 19 meters. So you can sort of see the scale here and how these ships upscale and get bigger and bigger and bigger. So the ship was named after Commander Hester Polaris, which was a hero of the UEE. I have done a lore post on the Polaris if you guys want to check that out, where I'll go into more detail about that sort of stuff. So the skeleton crew would be for Polaris is around 13 people. So the class is corvette crew, 13 to 24, stations 7, so 5 on the bridge, 1 engineering, 1 torpedo room, length 155 meters, shield 3 large front, center, and rear type quadrant shields. Armor is light because it needs to be fast. Power plant is a capital power plant, which is interesting. It has a nose turret, which is automated. Missile pods, which are automated. Manned turrets, 1 crew member each. And we have our main thrusters here. A rear exhaust. Cover closes when idle, so that's where the exhaust ports are. Get a missile in there and it could be curtains for the Polaris, if it follows the Star Wars philosophy. And then you can see the auxiliary thrusters. So on the bottom end of the Polaris, you can see the cargo hold, the cargo access, the doors double as a ramp when landed, torpedo room over there, rear turret, which is automated apparently, and the torpedo bays, capable of firing 4 S6 torpedoes simultaneously. Now, they were talking about size 6 torpedoes. Apparently this has gone up in size as of the latest posts and stuff to size 10, because the Polaris needs to fire the largest torpedoes in the game. So that's pretty interesting. Let's continue here to the front, back, side, top views here of the ship. As you can see, the hangar here as well. Cargo bay, floor elevates to create a landing platform for space for 1 small fighter, but I'll get into more detail about that in a moment. Then you can see the landing gear here, the mock-up for that sort of stuff, where it's placed. The auxiliary thrusters seem pretty powerful. By the looks of things, they're pretty huge. So yeah, the torpedo room looks pretty detailed. As you can see here, how the torpedoes work: main booster system, size 6 class warhead, navigation systems, and all that stuff. So yeah, it uses a linear motor propulsion system. That's pretty interesting. So here's a quick few key sections of the Q&A, which I have covered in a separate video for the Polaris. I did a Polaris Q&A 1 and 2. So we're going to highlight some key sections here which are pretty important to this video in talking about the Polaris. The Polaris uses torpedoes. Can you tell us how the torpedo combat will work? How will we use torpedoes in Star Citizen? Torpedoes will essentially have the same gameplay function as missiles, with the Retaliator being an example. The main difference being all the properties of the torpedo itself. Being a larger scale, you can expect it to have a lower top speed and maneuverability, but packing more damage per hit on a larger radius. Just as with missiles, other properties will vary as well, including lock time, reliability, and countermeasure resistance depending on the make and model of torpedo, along with the quality of the launching ship's avionics. Torpedoes are generally intended for use against larger targets like capital ships or installations. So this is pretty important, guys. While you could theoretically use them against smaller ships like a fighter or a bomber or a utility ship, you'd much rather be using them on something like you know, an installation or a base. So small targets are not exactly what these torpedoes are intended for, guys. So installations, that implies things like stations and other static objects. What types of ships do you think the Polaris will be intended to be strong against? What should it be weakest against? Generally speaking, the Polaris is the ideal ship for taking on small to medium cap ships, and tactically should be used to get in quick, deliver the torpedo payload, and get out. Turrets will also be utilized to fend off small fighters who attempt to make chase. The torpedoes can also inflict significant damage against larger capital ships and provide enough firepower to crack fortifications or powerful static defenses. Think sieges, or base attacks, that sort of stuff. The question as to exactly how much is the matter of game balance, and something we'll be exploring over time. Since the Polaris is intended to be a self-sustaining combat platform and capable of extended deployment without resupply, does it have a medical facility or captain's quarters? I can confirm that both captain's quarters and secondary quarters for a fighter pilot and or second in command, and also a small medical bay are indeed present on the Polaris. In addition to this, the Polaris has a capacity for a large stockpile of 24 torpedoes, as well as 4 other ready loaded for launching. How modular is the ship? Can the torpedo, hangar, and cargo bays be replaced? If so, with what? There are no plans for these large internal spaces to be modular. We expect the Polaris to have the same customization options as found on most ships utilizing the component system. So in this Q&A they covered the size of the actual torpedoes themselves. So size 6 in the brochure was wrong. So let's see what it says here. Does the Polaris carry any fixed weaponry? There is conflicting data between the ship's page and the matrix. The ship brochure about how many turrets, manned and unmanned, fixed hardpoints, etc. Now this is what CIG said. The current planned weaponry loadout for the Polaris is 4 size 10 torpedo launch tubes, 6 manned turrets, 1 remote operated turret on the nose controlled from the bridge, 1 automated lower rear gun turret, and apologies for any confusion. If there was any discrepancies on the site, we will adjust them. Updated on October the 19th, 2016. In an effort to clear up confusion, we've consulted the designer for clarification and have revised the list of hardpoints. The Polaris' current planned loadout is said to include 4 size 10 torpedo launch tubes, 5 manned turrets, twin size 4 weapons. So that's pretty kick-ass. Twin size 4 weapons, guys. 1 remote manned turret with twin size 5 weapons, 1 automated turret, twin size 4 weapons, 2 anti-fighter missile racks, each carrying 16 size 3 missiles. Size 3 missiles, that's crazy. 16 size 3 missiles, wow. As with other ships, feedback we receive through usual channels and information gathered from and receiving during playtesting and balancing may necessitate revisions of the ship hardpoint placement. Our primary focus will always be ensuring that any new additions to the game will not only fulfill their intended roles, but will also work in harmony with the vision and design intentions across the entire game. So this ship is designed to get in quick, kick some serious ass, cause some serious damage, and get out without anyone actually being able to put a scratch on it. That is the intended plan. So just to quote a couple of words from Paul Jones, the art director who worked on the Polaris corvette. He said that it was styled with aggressive angles, got a Gundam feel. When this thing turns up on the horizon, or if it's silhouetted against a nebula, you're gonna be like, I know what that is. If you're on the sharp end of the stick, you're gonna be worried about what's about to happen next. This is the one you want in your fleet. This is a mid to large size capital ship killer. So those are pretty strong words, and pretty worrying for any would-be pirate operating out of a large capital ship. I mean, if a Polaris rocks up, it could be curtains. You need to detect these ships before they arrive. Because of their light armor, they might be vulnerable, and the shielding type, they will be vulnerable to things like bombers and things like that. So if you see something like a Polaris on the horizon, you want to get out of dodge fast, as fast as you can for a large capital ship, because they're going to be slow. Polaris is designed to be quick, so you need to intercept it with things like bombers and fighters, maybe draw down its shields to start doing damage to its hull so it eventually waves off and leaves, or things like that. But a Polaris is going to be a very serious threat to those who are in large capital ships, just driving around, maybe minding their own business. If a pirate org has a Polaris, you want to be worried, because those things are quick. They get in, they do lots of damage, and they get out. Problem is, it's not the best thing to use in a pirate org if you're planning on salvaging and taking other ships, because it won't leave much behind in terms of salvage and or cargo. So another couple of words here from another person who worked on the Polaris is Dan Dustra. I hope I didn't butcher his name. He's the concept artist on the ship. He had in mind for it to be quick, deliver torpedo salvo, carry a small fighter. He said that the ship will get in, destroy, and it's getting out. Of course, the torpedo launchers are on the bottom, and they are super cool. You'll be able to fire 4 missiles at the same time that are the biggest sized, at least, in the game. So that's pretty big, Size 10 torpedoes are not something to be, waved at or laughed at. These things are going to do some major damage and punch some serious holes in larger capital ships. And so yeah, this ship is a very awesome one. It is an essential part of fleets if you're looking to be a combat-based fleet. It is ideal for defense, it's ideal for offense. Only problem is it has a light shielding for something like this, and it has light armor. So this ship is gonna be, something that you're gonna need a good crew to operate, and a decent amount of planning beforehand. You can't just send this thing out willy-nilly and, let's go over to this system and find out what's there. You need to plan ahead and say, right, we need to scout the area. Do they have anything that we can send a Polaris against? Or you can use it for patrol, guarding convoys, that sort of stuff. It's not something you need to go exploring in. This is not an exploration vessel, guys. It's not something for salvage. It's something designed for search and rescue, like providing aid, or combat, or armored trade. Like, they did say you'll be able to put an armored premium in terms of like the items you'll be transporting, but it's not really designed for cargo runs. It's designed for combat. It's got very aggressive angles. Its weapons are facing in the forward position towards the enemy. It's designed to kill things. So yeah, it's a pretty awesome ship. So, in more details with the Hangar, I'd like to give a special thank you to a buddy of mine named Machine. He's been a real trooper, and he provided some really awesome pictures of the interior of the hangar that the community has been working with to get an idea of what you can fit. So as you can see in this picture here, that's 6 M50s. That's pretty cool. It's quite a big, spacious hangar. In this picture, you see 4 Merlins and a Hall A. It is said that you'll be able to fit a Vanguard hoplite in the hangar if you remove the gun from the nose. It will not, however, be able to fit a Redeemer in with the hangar lowered. So there is that. But of quite a few ships that means can fit in the hangar, including things like a Cutlass, Cutlass Red, Cutlass Blue, and Cutlass Black. I'm hoping after the rework it doesn't grow too much in size in terms of for the Cutlass, because if the Cutlass grows any bigger it might not fit. That said, the ship is being worked on by Foundry 42, so the ship could increase in size. If you have any further questions, guys, feel free to ask me in the comments of this video below on the Polaris. I'll try to answer as many as possible that I can answer. I have done a fair bit of research on the Polaris. It is one of my favorites. But yet again, I'd like to say a special thank you to Machine, a buddy of mine. He'll see him in the comments also, I'm guessing, soon, on the ship, for giving me the information on the hangar and stuff. This information is invaluable, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you, buddy. Pretty cool. So that should just about wrap it up for the Polaris. I really cannot wait for this ship personally, and yeah, I absolutely adore it. It is a dream boat, if I was to quote my buddy Damadar. So yeah, no, it's a really awesome ship. 155 meters long is pretty big. In terms of ships that are large, the Starfarer is around 100 meters in length, and you can get lost on the thing all the time. But this thing, I mean, I'm guessing you're gonna have to really know the floor plan to be able to get around with any efficiency. If you don't know the floor layout, then you're gonna get lost. So, yeah, it's a pretty spectacular ship. Also, I'd like to say a special thank you to boredgamer, who helped me out with the putting the logo in the corner of all my videos. It's a watermark thing. It's a setting I had no clue about, and he gave me a lot of help there. So thank you to you, boredgamer. I do appreciate that. So yeah, guys, you know the drill, commanders. Oh, and remember to vote for the next ship in the comments below. You know how it works. You type the name of the ship, then followed by the word next in capitals. That'll help me find the votes from the comments, the standard comments. So yeah, guys, thank you guys so much for supporting the channel and coming back here to watch some Star Citizen stuff every other day and stuff like that. I do have a bunch of new series planned in the works. I'm gonna do a series on drop ships and trade ships and other things like that. So I'll be doing specialized videos for certain ship types. So, you know, what would make a feasible drop ship, what is the best dropship, you know, in terms of what they can do and things like that, in a special dropship video series of its own. Same will be for trade. I'll have a special trade video series in terms of for ships and exploration ships and that sort of stuff, and we'll do more details on that sort of thing, because I know there's a lot of you out there who own a lot of these ships, and for fighters as well, guys. It'll be a specialized video I'll be making for fighters and what fighter is your best pick for what reason and things like that. That should really help you guys get an idea of ships and really know what to do in terms of buying your next ship or planning your next move. So yeah, if you like the sound of these video series, let me know in the comment section below if you know, you're looking forward to it or whatever. So yeah, thank you guys so much yet again for supporting the channel. You citizens absolutely rock. Star Citizen, I'll say it again, and I've said it before, Star Citizen has one of the best gaming communities I've ever seen. It's awesome. So, you know the drill, commanders. Fly safe, and I'll see you in the verse.